This is 5 on 20 News. I forgot a clever line to say.
That's a clever line right there.
We're both newscasters, so we're going to read the news. I'm Besh.
And I'm Rich Aguirre. It's Thursday, March 30th. We're coming to you live from our Creative Tucson studio in downtown Tucson. And we're going to start with local headlines.
Okay, let's start with them. Arizona House Republicans released their opening budget proposal yesterday, which calls for bigger teacher pay raises and bigger tax cuts than Governor Doug Ducey called for. The $9.8 million budget plan includes a 1% raise for teachers this year at a cost of $34 million to the state. Ducey had requested a 2% raise for over 5 years, which would have cost $13.6 million. In terms of tax cuts, Ducey requested that personal income tax exemption be adjusted for inflation at a cost of $2.8 million per year. Again, going further, the House called for an immediate $100 increase in the exemption, which costs $11 million plus the inflation adjustment. The budget also included $7.3 million for computer staff and projects for the education department. For this, Ducey didn't offer anything in his budget proposal, while Superintendent Diane Douglas requested $17.6 million. The House spending increases left little leftover funding for other initiatives. Ducey had wanted $125 million to be flexible for new initiatives, but the House left only $30 million after the spending binge. This week, Ducey upped the ante by promising infrastructure spending and a new football stadium. Republicans responded in turn by promising a car for every Arizona resident to drive on those shiny new roads and jetpacks for every family at a cost of $122 bajillion. Republicans then challenged Ducey to an arm wrestling match outside the quad.
Arizona legislatures have rushed an abortion law through Congress that defies virtually every rule of science. This legislation will require doctors to save the life of the baby born alive after an abortion. This is despite the fact that abortions can't be done after 6 months, even in the most liberal states. And the fact that babies are born at 6 months are unlikely to survive anyways, but that's probably the idea. The vote passed the Senate 18-11 hours after it won over the House with a 34-22 vote. Ducey has passed every abortion restriction so far that has reached his desk, including a law that condemned Michael Cera for appearing in the movie Juno. But his aide, Daniel Scarpatino, wouldn't comment if Ducey would sign it, but couldn't help but give a little wink. Arizona actually already has a similar law in the books known as SB 1367, but this bill actually spells out what constitutes a sign of life. These include breathing, a heartbeat, umbilical cord, pulsation, definite movement of muscle, and the desire to own an iPhone. The law also directs the Department of Health Service to come up with the rules of what medical professionals have to do to save the life of a child in case of birth. There would also need to be a qualified staff member to be on hand at abortions occurring after 20 weeks of pregnancy, which is certainly the worst on-call position in history. Representative Edie Farnsworth offered a bit of common sense to the bill, adding language that doctors don't need to know everything possible if they know that the baby will not survive outside the womb. Opponents of the law say that medical evidence shows that a fetus cannot survive outside a womb after 21 weeks. Representative Trent Franks replied that medical evidence shows that you need to shut up.
Do you remember those beepers that doctors used to have?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if it just said abortion on it?
It's beeping.
It's too far. Okay, Attorney General Mark Bjornovich, sorry if I said that wrong, is making a Hail Mary pass to try and get the state to deny license plates to so-called dreamers. Bjornovich, we'll say Bjornovich, filed briefs yesterday that asked the Supreme Court to overturn rulings by the Ninth Circuit District Court of Appeals that individuals approved under the DACA program could have licenses, or DACA. DACA, or the Deferred Action for Childhood Approvals, grants some rights to people who arrived in the U.S. at a young age. The Ninth Circuit ruled that Arizona had no right to decide whether to follow the ruling or not. Sound familiar? But then Governor Jan Brewer did decide not to follow the ruling in 2012 when she said that DACA, or DACA, status did not give entitlement to a driver's license. Of course not. Interesting enough, her federal funding wasn't cut. Governor Ducey has not officially rescinded Brewer's executive action and has left Bjornovich to awkwardly support his decision. The Supreme Court will decide whether the federal DACA or DACA program can be overridden by states' rights, which falls under the 10th Amendment. Remember that because the 10th Amendment is going to come up again in a few minutes, and it's going to be very ironic. Bjornovich says that DACA, or DACA, wasn't passed as an act of Congress or a part of federal law, but was an executive action, meaning that the rule does not need to be followed. So, to follow Republican logic, executive actions do not need to be followed, which means that Arizona police do not have to follow Trump's executive action, ordering them to enforce federal immigration laws. To add more irony to the already ironic situation, Jan Brewer was interviewed yesterday and said that politicians who support sanctuary cities should be jailed. So the lesson is clear. You only need to follow a federal law if it supports your agenda.
TUSD's governing board has finally chosen a temporary superintendent to run the school district after the position was vacant for a month. Gabriel Trujillo, a veteran TUSD administrator, will run the district until a permanent head is named. Trujillo will be paid a prorated salary of $200,000 to serve until June 30th and will continue to receive the same benefits as he did when he was assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction. Trujillo said in a statement that he assumes that his, quote, services will be needed fairly and quickly after the office was empty for over a month. Board member Mark Stedman and Crystal Foster welcomed the appointment, even though they both supported the outgoing superintendent, H.T. Sanchez. Foster said, quote, Dr. Trujillo has been a part of a lot this year. Has been a part of a lot of work this year that has happened. Trujillo was hired as assistant superintendent after serving as principal of Phoenix Union High School. The decision comes after months of disagreements among the board over who would take over. At one point, the government board was going to approve Maggie Schaefer as interim superintendent, but Schaefer withdrew her name after the Tucson Sentinel published a report charging the district of violating open meeting laws when negotiating her deal. The board still disagrees on how to move forward on picking a permanent superintendent. Stedman and Foster have disagreed over who will be hired to search for candidates. Stedman wants to hire a colleague, and Foster wants a headhunting service. Foster said that she had concerns about transparency in regards to people contacting about taking the superintendent role. She also expressed concerns at the low level of interest for the job and is afraid that only local candidates will be considered. Adelita Grijalva agreed that the district shouldn't be limited to only local candidates. However, board member Rachel Sedgwick said that getting someone from outside the district would be too complicated and take too long. Stedman also said that a priority for the board should be to fill the role quickly and would be more difficult for someone outside the district. Meanwhile, a man named Gerald Strickland barged into the board meeting and announced that TUSD students were all slackers, and he would see that they all shape up. He then urged the board to, quote, wake up and join the human race. Police promptly took Mr. Strickland away.
You know, I've got some, in quote, services that people might need quickly. Just saying. Media services. So, anti-Semitic flyers were distributed throughout a Scottsdale neighborhood yesterday. Near the area's Jewish center, according to the Anti-Defamation League. The organization said it was, quote, disgusted by the flyers, which featured the picture of a rabbi spray painting a swastika on a temple wall. There is also text that reads, teen in Israel linked to bomb threats against Jewish community centers. This is in reference to last week's arrest of a teen who is accused of calling in bomb threats to various Jewish centers in the U.S. The flyer appears to be trying to connect this teen to bomb threats against Jewish community centers in Scottsdale and Tucson, which occurred the same week. While it's unknown who distributed the flyer, there is a link to the Daily Stormer, a popular neo-Nazi website known for its conspiracy theories and white supremacist viewpoints. On the Daily Stormer site, the top headline reads, fuming Sheeny ADL terrorists demand police shut down factual flyers. Presidential advisor Steve Bannon praised the marketing strategy, and he said he's working on photoshopping an image of Chuck Schumer peeing on the Republican healthcare bill to gain some support, which I feel like would go over pretty well.
It's a typical Scottsdale
Yeah, Jeff
stuff.
is really good at Photoshop as well, not handling a phone.
Arizona Senator John McCain is keeping busy in his old age by trolling world leaders, including our president. But this time, the senator unloaded on North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, whom McCain called a crazy fat kid last week. Daily Caller article then wrote about how Kim was insulted by his remark, according to the report by North Korea's state-run news agency. In the article, Kim said that McCain's words hurt, they hurt the country's dignity. Rather than apologize, McCain doubled down and tweeted, quote, "What did they want me to call him, a crazy skinny kid?" The original remarks were from an interview on MSNBC where McCain said that China is the only one who can control Kim Jong-un, this crazy fat kid that runs North Korea. According to North Korea's state news agency, Kim Jong-un has been on a strict diet and exercise regimen. He hopes to get a beach body by the time he meets McCain in order to make him jealous.
McCain for president. When's the next presidency?
2020.
2018. And I wanted to take a moment to talk about the program you're watching and Jeff's watching over there. Here at 5 on 20, we are undertaking a new kind of citizen journalism. We are going to give you the news as we see it, and as he sees it, as Jeff sees it. And we want more people to speak up with you and us. We need writers, hosts, anchors, please. Camera people, sound people, the whole gamut. The time requires a new way of informing ourselves, so join us, do it now, right now. Email us on your phone, on your gadget pad, info@creativetucson.org. You can trust us to get involved. And if you think there's a story missing, a person we should interview, an upcoming event we should cover, or have any news tips for us, shoot us an email at info@creativetucson.org. That's where it ends. It's not the whole you can trust us part. We are here for you, and we want to cover all the stories from all viewpoints, so don't be strangers. Thank you, Joe. Now, in national and international news.
Thank you, Ty.
Yeah.
An Iranian woman visiting her family in Oregon was detained yesterday, according to the American Civil Liberties Union. 29-year-old Alia Gandhi was detained at the Portland airport and later taken to jail 80 miles away. Matt Dos Santos of ACLU said that Gandhi had a valid visa and hasn't been accused of any crimes. He said that she's an architect and she's with her parents in Iran and had came to the United States to visit her sister in Portland. The Customs and Border Patrol has not revealed why they blocked Gandhi and coming into the U.S., but a spokesman said that it did not have to do with the Muslim travel ban, which was struck down in court 2 weeks ago. While the CBP declined to comment, they said that, quote, having a valid visa does not guarantee foreign national entry into the United States, and that a traveler, regardless of country, can be detained entry. Gandhi was held at jail for about 12 hours and released at 5 a.m. the next day. And the jail administrator told The Guardian that she was held because of a federal warrant, but he couldn't speak further. Dos Santos said that the ACLU received no indication that Gandhi was facing a criminal charge. CBP said that she must have been confused for another Gandhi who is wanted resisting against the British Empire.
Yeah. Wow.
That's that other Gandhi.
I wish I could apologize for the U.S. to her, but I can't because I'm worthless and she's not watching. Heroin use among American adults has increased by 5 times over the past decade, according to new research by Columbia University. Researchers found that 0.33% of the public used the drug 10 years ago, but the number was now 1.6 of the adult American population. Oh, crap. This works out to be 3.8 million Americans using heroin. Sylvia Martins, who ran the study, said all the increases occurred across all ages, genders, and social classes, so don't be racist. However, it appears that heroin used by white people, here we go, has increased at a quicker rate as they had a 6-fold rise. Thanks, Joel. The study also highlighted the role that the pharmaceutical industry plays in the heroin epidemic. They also point to recent policies that crack down on prescription medication, which leads many to heroin because it's cheaper and easier to obtain. I agree. Researchers also surveyed those who use heroin. They used it, and they began with taking prescription drugs and found that the number actually decreased among non-white Americans. Interesting. However, the number rose sharply among white Americans from 36% to almost 53%. But don't worry, because President Tangerine Dream signed an executive order established an opioid commission led by Chris Christie that will do, well, we're not sure yet. We'll find out, but they're commissioned, so that means something. Oh, And the commission actually includes Jeff Sessions, so you can bet that Opioid Commission will, of course, focus on marijuana, probably. To add to the worthlessness of the commission, Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, already released a comprehensive report last year that included tools and recommendations collected from a year of research. So he essentially already did the commission's work for them, which means the commission will probably just study Murthy's research. Waste of time and money? Of course. But at least it's Jeff Sessions, and it'll keep him busy.
Did you remember the 10th Amendment? Here it is again, but flipped inside out. The city of Seattle filed a lawsuit against Trump's administration sanctuary city policy on Wednesday. The suit charges that the decision to deny funding for sanctuary cities is, quote, unconstitutional and ambiguous, and violates the 10th Amendment, which reserves power to the states. Sanctuary cities are those that won't comply with a federal order that requires local police to enforce federal immigration laws. And it wasn't just Seattle's unhappy about the policy. Mayors and police chiefs from around the city gathered in Washington yesterday to meet with the Homeland Security Chief, John Kelly, and Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Mayors expressed concern that pulling funding from these cities would lead to a spike in crime and that they would be punished for not breaking any laws. They said that the law does not require city authorities to report immigration status and that the term sanctuary city is too broad. The mayors were also afraid that the policy has had a chilling effect with the immigrants too afraid of deportation to report crimes. Seattle's lawsuit states that while the city will cooperate with federal authorities, state's employees are prohibited from inquiring into immigration status. Seattle's city attorney, Pete Holmes, said that he hopes the president will, quote, refrain from tweeting his legal opinion before courts have had an opportunity to do so. Trump scoffed at his joke and then sent a drone to hover around Holmes's Seattle apartment.
I guess we're not keeping Jeff Sessions as busy as we wanted to. It looks as though we're not being too neighborly with our neighbor to the north. Canadian citizens are reporting some extreme vetting at the border. Oh my. With many claiming that they weren't let into the country for arbitrary reasons. Nice word. They also say that Customs and Border Protection agents have become more aggressive in their questioning than before. They were already terrible. Although, to be fair, not saying sorry every third word is considered rude to Canadians, so let's, take a step back. Thomas Winkowski, former acting commissioner of CBP, which I have no idea what that means, says that nothing has changed in regards of how the agency guards the border, but Winkowski's reassurances weren't enough for the Girl Guides of Canada. Girl Guides of Canada. The Canadian version of the Girl Scouts, the guides, they guide you. The group, where though? The group canceled a scheduled field trip to the U.S. because school officials didn't want, not the U.S., didn't want to deal with students being rejected to the border, or at the border. According to Canadian law, these children would be forced to be let out into the wild until they found their way home. If they were Girl Scouts, they'd know how. Homeland Security Chief John Kelly also denied that anything had changed along the border, saying that if they're in Canada legally, then they don't have to worry. Kelly later added, unless you're a Girl Guide of Canada, because we've already got American girls to sell Samoan cookies. So true, though. It's a bummer.
You're so fast. North Carolina lawmakers passed a repeal of the infamous bathroom bill that banned individuals from using bathrooms of their identified gender. Earlier today, the bill passed the House with a 70-48 vote and will now be delivered to Governor Roy Cooper, who's expected to sign the bill. The new law would overturn an older bill that required people in the state to use bathrooms and locker rooms in schools and government-ran buildings that correspond to the gender on their birth certificate. Activists nationwide criticized the law, saying that it discriminated against LGBT individuals. But they say that the new bill still could allow discrimination because it allows the bathroom access issue to be regulated by state legislature. It also leaves in a stipulation where local governments can't pass their own anti-discrimination laws until 2020. This was in response to the city of Charlotte, who established their own anti-discrimination law. LGBT groups called the move repeal in name only. Chris Seguro, the director of equality in North Carolina, called it a shell piece of legislation that would not protect the LGBT community. He also said that local LGBT groups were not consulted on the bill. It's not as though Republican legislatures had a change of heart, but it rather had to do with money, as these things usually do. The state was on the receiving end of intense economic pressure from companies and organizations such as the NBA, the NCAA, who both withdrew events in the state. Even more powerful was the Queen Bee herself. Beyonce canceled a concert appearance in North Carolina to protest the law. According to inside sources, Beyonce plans to declare a hex on the state and unleash her minions if legislatures won't allow anti-discrimination laws. Beyonce, Ty.
Yeah, you know, I read something actually about in the 2020 census, LGBTQ people won't even be like counted, so they don't matter, right? So who cares? While we were all caught up on Russia's antics, we totally forgot that China likes to spy too. A State Department employee was charged with receiving tens of thousands of dollars in gifts from Chinese intelligence agencies. Wow. Candace Claiborne, what can you buy with that? Candace Claiborne pled not guilty to the charges of obstructing an official proceeding and making false statements to the FBI about the relationship with Chinese agents. In a court statement, the acting Assistant Attorney General Mary McCord said that Claiborne, quote, used her position and her access to sensitive diplomatic data for personal profit. Claiborne worked as an office management specialist in various countries, including China, Iraq, and Sudan, where she had top secret clearance. Wow, this is all coming to so Russia, China. Court documents state that 2 Chinese intelligence agents provided the gifts and asked for information about, quote, internal United States government positions on matters of U.S.-China relations. Gifts included cash, meals, McDonald's gift cards, and maybe Chipotle, and an Apple iPhone and MacBook. What a great pair. Once the FBI found out about the relationship, Claiborne tried to conceal the facts from the agency, as well as the State Department. She was eventually found out when an undercover FBI agent posed as a Chinese intelligence officer and thanked her for helping the ministry when she didn't deny. It appears that Claiborne was driven by the profit motive to continue with the relationship. In private journals, Claiborne wrote that she could generate $20K in 1 year. $20K. In response, our president tweeted, $20K? That's nothing. Putin and pals give me that in 1 week. Hashtag sad.
Staffers at the Department of Energy Climate Office have been asked to stop using the phrase climate change, emission reductions, and Paris Agreement, according to the Politico. The request was made by the supervisor hours after the president signed an executive order reversing many Obama-era environmental regulations. According to the DOE spokesperson, the phrases are not technically banned, but are being avoided because of Trump's attitudes towards climate change. Other phrases to avoid include integrity, competence, and environmental holocaust.
Which is fine, because speaking of the Chinese, they're the ones that made up climate change. Am I right? So it's fine.
I don't think so.
All right, so this was Ty Besh.
And Rich Aguirre for 5 on 20 News. Next up,
we have some undercover footage, some left behind footage from NULF, Night of the Living Fest.
Night of the Living Fest.
Jeff Weber shooting. We have Lando Chill being interviewed with Anais, who I was filling in for today. Was Zobella, Zobi-Wan Kenobi. And our own as well, Sophie, what do they call her? Rippin' Guts?
I've never heard
She
that.
does the music thing here on 5 and 20. So check it out. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks, guys.
My name is Lance, but I go by Lando Chill. I'm a very chill person. I like bike rides, I like weed, and I like music.
Where do you ride your bike?
I ride my bike around Barrio Viejo because that's where I live. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Where were you born?
Really? Roomies. They were roommates. You heard it here live on Creative Tucson. Giving y'all a plug, you know.
What's your favorite street?
It's probably, what's that street next to 8th? It's not 7th, but it's the one, is it 7th? It's not 9th. It's the one that has the really like fancy colored houses. Meyer. That, you know what I was see. You was bullshitting talking about 7th, 9th. You knew what street I was talking about. She's from the area, so she would know.
So are you excited for this skate park that's gonna go in that area?
Yeah, Cushing Street Skate Park by Kyle and Caleb. I fuck with those homies. I can almost ollie. I want Atticus to teach me how to skate. Shout out to Atticus. Shout out. Yeah? Yeah.
He wants to know what the first song you ever made was.
Oh, shit. The first song I ever made, it was this song called Move Your Body. It was, so yeah, I remember the chorus. It was, it was, move that body like you used to. Now this the club, move that body like you used to, girl. Now move that body like you used to. Ooh, now move that body like you used to, girl. Now move that body like you. That was the first chorus and song I ever wrote. But the first verse I ever wrote was this verse to Gucci Mane's Lemonade.
Okay, now you have to sing that one.
It's a long rap. I don't know if you guys want to hear that.
Little live performance?
Yeah.
Little mini live performance?
If you want.
A live performance. Okay.
Whatever you want to.
Let's say my first rap was Google called it insomnia. My mom says I'm fucking up. Whatever floats their boats, I'm practicing my throwing up. Grinding up the herb so I can stay never sober. This is my pastime till baseball's gone in mid-October. Then I light the flame and commence the launch. 6 feet deep, they call it their body status, call it washer staunch. My mind is comatose, stuck in the hair of Amber Rose, just getting past our premature like a Farley overdose. Damn, I can't believe I remember that. That was like 2011.
We're very impressed.
Kind of, yeah. You know, when you're listening to the radio, one of the oldest songs, like for me, it's like Avril Lavigne or Green Day, when they come on the radio, and I haven't listened to them for like over a decade.
Oh, wow.
I know all the words.
Me, it's
Do you know
Panic
some
at
Avril songs?
No, I know Panic at the Disco.
They headlined KFMA Day.
Did they?
Yeah.
How is Brandon? Y'all talk to him?
I didn't.
We were there.
Brandon, I want you on the song. You and
You heard
Patrick.
it here first.
You and Patrick.
So
I was a big Fall Out Boy fan too.
tell us a little bit about your journey to get here.
I guess it was wrought with self-doubt and sorrow. But I don't know. It was really about believing in oneself, about not being afraid to follow a passion. I mean, it's simple shit that's super cliche when you hear about it, but when you put it to practice, it kind of reaps a lot of rewards that you never thought you'd, I guess, see. Like, I never thought I'd be a musician. I wanted to be a train conductor when I was a kid. Like, I collected rocks and I bird watched.
So what would you say keeps you coming back to music?
I'd say the people I meet and the things I get to do. I mean, my label's pretty big, like outside the United States, and I'll be able to go to outside the United States for the first time, and like through music, you know? So I recently went to Cincinnati, I've been to Birmingham, Cali, Colorado, like all these places where I would have never been or gone or visited, or maybe I would have, but through music, I guess I created long-lasting relationships, and I don't know, it's fucking dope. Music brings people together. It's very universal. You know, if you can't agree on politics or sports or religion, you know, there's always something music can offer to bring people together. So.
I hope you like this shit. It's all new. All new. So y'all can't sing along to nothing. Not this time. It's like, we finna look good. 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 The earth shakes, the sound of mankind on the grind as they voice quake. Beneath the open deep, Lazarus made a one take. Shot by the rebel, learn the rebel, watch the level when the mistake. A funny one's nose for the goal is fight the whole face. We run race, but see me as a nigga with a court case. This black face is ready to be standing with the white shake. It's tight face, we stuck her in the butt, but got the nice face. Say we gotta look good when we break the shackles one day. We bounce to look good when we break the shackles one day. We gonna look good when we break the shackles one day. We bounce to look good when we break the shackles one day. I spoke to the wind and I tell you what the sun said. We gonna look good when we break the shackles one day. We bounce to look good when we break the shackles one day. We gonna look good when we break the shackles one day. Like one day, come on y'all. Down. do now, we break them down. Said we finna look good when we break the shackles one day. We about to look good when we break the shackles one day. I spoke to the wind and I tell you what the sun say. We finna look good when we break the shackles. Said we finna look good when we break the shackles one day. We about to look good like the world that you just found. For those who look like you and I knew some time can still strangle though. So reap the views while you tangle with the money. No funny than the ocean view. The ocean grew just as we began to speak to you. It's not you, he was in the rain to see the deepest blue. On the blackness in space. On the breath that it takes to realize how we fake. The pain that we make, the pain that we shape. So take heed of the wind, take heed of the wind while the phony man swing like. Shackles one day. We finna look good when we break the shackles one day.